Hello, Miss Deltonell. It's the same Tuesday. GPA has been home working on a paper for his class that he has. It's due tomorrow. And so I'm going to take a break from all that thinking and writing that's been going on for quite a few days. And I went to the library to print off my paper so I could kind of mark it up. And they had some discarded books from the library. They're not going to be part of their collection anymore. Says right here, no longer the property of Knowles, North Olympic Library System. And I saw this one and I just was like, okay, we've got to see what this story is. I was just curious. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to read The Flying Canoe, a Christmas story retold by Eric A. Kimmel and illustrated by Daniel Souci and Justin Souci. So let's see. I think this might have a, frosty Christmas Eve in the Canadian wilderness. 6 lonely fur traders missed their families in faraway Montreal. So that's where we're going to set. I thought that might be the case. Okay, so here is The Flying Canoe, a Christmas story. One Christmas Eve, 6 French fur traders huddled around a campfire in frozen woods beyond Lake Nipigon in Ontario. They did not wish one another joyeux Noel. There was precious little to celebrate in that camp. They were cold, hungry, and far away from their homes and family. The French is going to be terrible because G-Pod knows German, not French. In Montreal, they will be going to church soon, said Pierre. They are finishing a fine Christmas dinner, Etienne added. If I close my eyes, I can smell roast goose, Pascal sighed. And ham, and more tarts, and cakes, and I can count, Louis said, sharing the dream. To be home for Christmas, said Jean-Paul. For voyagers like us, there is no Christmas, grumbled old Armand, stirring the thin fish soup on the fire. We are 1,000 leagues away from anywhere. Pierre Noel does not come here. I'm going to pause here. For voyagers? Voyagers is a phrase for the hunter and trappers that worked in parts of Canada and in what became the United States as well. An example is Frenchtown near Walla Walla and the Whitman Mission site. Are you sure of that? A tall man stepped from the forest shadows into the light of the campfire. The voyagers had never seen anyone like him, for he wore the clothes of another century. Ma foi! John Paul exclaimed. One like that could have voyaged with La Salle or Champlain, Pascal whispered. Who are you? Old Armand demanded to know. I have many names, the stranger said. He lifted the kettle and drank the steaming soup from the pot. It needs more pepper. We have no pepper, Pascal replied. Poor way to spend Christmas, the stranger said. We make do with what we have, Pierre shrugged. We are not in Montreal. Would you like to be? In Montreal, this night, to celebrate Noel at home? What do you want in return? Old Armand asked warily. Nothing at all, the stranger replied. I've been known to do a good deed from time to time, if only to amuse myself. So hear me, my amis. I will return you to Montreal this night on one condition. You may not speak a word until you reach your own homes. And if we speak, well, then you'll come back here again. There's really nothing to lose. Old Armand spat into the fire. I know who you are, monsieur. We want none of your tricks. We will go home without your help in God's good time. Armand, what are you saying? The others cried. To get a home in one night. How can we refuse? Old Armand turned to the stranger. My companions wish to accept your offer. I will go with them. What must we do? Load your canoe and paddle home. As simple as that. But remember, no one must speak until he reaches his home. Do you agree? We do, the voyagers replied. Old Armand whispered to the others, this fellow is not as clever as he thinks. We can say what we like without speaking at all if we use the sign language of the Indians. The voyagers slid the canoes into the river, took their places between the bundles of baled furs. Alvoya and Mayavist, cried old Armand. The voyagers dipped their paddles. The canoe rose to the air, and faster, higher and higher. It skimmed the treetops, skirting the clouds as it turned southward. An ocean of stars lit the landscape below. The river shrank to a silver thread. The lakes became fires of ice. Jean-Paul made signs to Etienne. He pointed out the marsh where they had made a portage last summer. It took 3 days to cross the dreadful place. It vanished into the distance in less than a heartbeat. The next few minutes found them flying over Lake Nipion. Pascal made signs to Pierre. Pierre signed back that he recognized the island where they had found the blueberries. The juice had covered their hands and faces, and they looked like blue men. Jean-Paul pointed over the side. Bear Cove lay below. Louis shuddered, for he remembered the place where he had surprised an angry mother bear and her cubs. He had saved himself by pretending to be dead. Who could forget that adventure? He signed to Jean-Paul. The canoe sped along. Each paddle stroke carried them 10 leagues. Etienne saw lights ahead. He signaled to Armand, who nodded. They had come to Fort Mackinac, the American fortress commanding the straits between Lake Huron and Lake Michigan. The voyagers saw 2 officers strutting across the parade ground. It would be fun to give them a Christmas present. The voyagers dipped their paddles, and the canoe banked to a snow-covered rooftop. The officers shrieked as a blanket of snow slid down on their heads. You can see it here, right? Okay. The canoe flew on. It passed through a blizzard, covered in frost, and the voyagers looked like snowmen. Louis peered through a blinding curtain of snow. What was that sound? And Etienne listened. It'd be the falls of Niagara. They were over Lake Ontario, nearly home. Old Armand brushed off snowflakes from his eyes. Home, after so long. The sky cleared. The stars led their way up the St. Lawrence River. The rooftops of Montreal came into view. The canoe sped over Pont-el-Carrier, dropping lower as it turned into the Place d'Armes. The copper steeple of Notre-Dame de Bon-Secours came into view. They saw people filling the streets on their way to midnight mass. The voyagers recognized their loved ones. Etienne saw his wife Yvette. Who was that boy walking with her? It must be Jacques, his son. Oh, how he had grown. Jean-Paul saw his father. He looked so old. Where was Maman? She never missed Mass on Christmas Eve. His hands fell. He realized he would never see his mother again. Pascal stared at a young woman walking beside a well-dressed man. She carried a sleepy baby. Faithless Marie. She had broken her promise. She had not waited for him. Pierre caught Pascal on the shoulder. His hand spoke. What of it? You'll find another fiancée. The prettiest girls in the world live in Montreal. Old Armand trembled with rage. He had just seen his youngest daughter walking with an officer of the fort. He had words to say. He did not intend to sign them. Montmorency, you scoundrel, I warned you to stay away from Annette. I'll be coming down to teach you a lesson. Another person suddenly appeared in the canoe. What a pity. You were almost home, he laughed. Take a good look at Montreal. You want it. You won't be seeing it long. So you say it, old May, with a mighty stroke. The canoe veered and struck its spire. It whirled around and around like a weather vane in a windstorm. The voyagers and bales of fur slid down the chapel's roof to land safely in the snowdrift. Shrieking with rage, the mysterious stranger streaked off towards the west. Despite bruises and sore bones, all the voyagers returned home for Christmas. The furs they had brought with them made them wealthy men. Pascal found a new sweetheart, while old Armand made peace with Captain Montmorency, who married Annette that summer. What became of the flying canoe? It spun around and around in the wind and rain until it fell apart. A piece of it is preserved in the Notre Dame Basilica of Montreal to remind the miracles really do happen, especially on Christmas Eve. Now there's an author's note here. The Flying Canoe, also known as the Bewitched Canoe, La Chasse Galerie, is a French-Canadian folktale whose origins go back to Northern European legends of the Wild Hunt, which in turn has its roots in Norse mythology. And many versions follow a similar pattern. A group of loggers or voyagers are offered a chance to return home for one night, Christmas Eve or New Year's Eve, on the condition that they not speak, or in some versions go near a church. The vow, of course, cannot be kept, and the travelers are whisked back to where they began, or to someplace worse. In most versions, they travel in a canoe. In one, however, they ride on an axe handle that stretches to fit them all. The best-known version of the story was written by Honoré Beaugrand and published in August 1892 in the issue of the Century magazine. In 1991, Canada issued a postage stamp depicting the Bewitched Canoe. The legend was also commemorated in the opening ceremony for the 2010 Winter Games at Vancouver, BC, as a canoe with a fiddler, Colin Mayer, descended from the ceiling. Wow, that's kind of a cool find in a lot of ways. I hope you enjoyed that one. I did. Like I said, it was a discard from the North Olympic Library system and here in Forks. And yeah, that was a good Christmas story. Okay, I hope you enjoyed it. Let's sign off. We got Nux up here. We got a high five. We got a low five. We got a twist and a twirl. We got loves to you, to the bigs. Give them a big hug for G-Paw here and Anna G. Anybody else who joined, I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. That was a good one. All right. Have a wonderful week. Take care. Bye-bye.